to let go and let good people help me make or live life as it is today. And what helps me most? The fellowship of AA when it comes to sobriety, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not a spokesperson for it, but I do share about how it helps me, because without AA I don't think I'd be alive today. Simple as that. I'd have gone back to my addictions and perished, blaming the world for my woes. And these days I don't have to blame anything or anybody about how life is. It's just the way it is. So how does AA help me? Well, I share the statement of intent and a little bit of reading. And I'll start with the statement of intent, and then there's something I want to share about AA's 12 pack. The statement of intent, or the AA preamble, is this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I was talking about the 12-step package yesterday on one of my videos, and it reminded me that the 12-step pack, or the 12-step package of AA, is the 12-step program. 12 steps of action to change my attitude and behaviour. And in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, which is a literature book from AA, it is just a small handy copy for taking around and reading whenever you like, is the 12-step summary on page 107. And it reads like this, if I have time for it. Right, AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps in our program. So let's consider briefly what we have been trying to do up until this point. Step 1 showed us an amazing paradox. We found that we were totally unable to rid the alcohol obsession until we first admitted that we were powerless over it. In step 2, we saw that since we could not restore ourselves to sanity, some higher power must necessarily do so if we were to survive. Consequently, in step 3, we turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him, and as a personal understanding of the higher power and God. For the time being, we who were atheist or agnostic discovered that our own group of all AA as a whole would suffice as a higher power. Beginning with step 4, we commenced to search out the things in ourselves which had brought us to physical, moral and spiritual bankruptcy. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory. Looking at step 5, we decided that an inventory taken alone wouldn't be enough. We knew we would have to quit the deadly business of living alone with our conflicts, and in honesty confide these to God and to another human being. At step 6, many of us bolt, for the practical reason that we did not wish to have all our defects of character removed, because we still loved some of them too much, ego being one of them. Yet we knew we had to make a settlement with the fundamental principle of step 6. So we decided that while we would still have some flaws of character that we could not yet relinquish, we ought nevertheless to quit our stubborn, rebellious hanging on to them. We said to ourselves, this I cannot do today. Perhaps I can stop crying out, no, never. Then in step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings, such as He could or would under the conditions of the day we asked, just on today. In step 8, we continued our house cleaning, for we saw that we were not only in conflict with ourselves, but also with people and situations in the world in which we lived. We had to begin to make our peace, and so we listed the people we had harmed, and became willing to set things right. We followed this up in step 9, by making direct amends to those concerned, except when it would injure them or other people. By this time, at step 10, we had begun to get a basis for daily living, and we keenly realized that we would need to continue taking personal inventory, and then when we were in the wrong, we ought to admit it promptly. In step 11, we saw that if the higher power had restored us to sanity, and had enabled us to live with some peace of mind in a sorely troubled world, then such a higher power was worth knowing better, by as direct contact as possible. The persistent use of meditation and prayer, we found, did open the channel, so that where there had been a trickle, there was now a river which led to sure power and safe guidance from God, as we were increasingly better able to understand Him. So, practicing these principles, we had a spiritual awakening about which finally there was no question. Looking at those who were only beginning and still doubted themselves, the rest of us were able to see the change setting in. From great numbers of such experiences, we could predict that the doubter who still claimed that he hadn't got the spiritual angle, and who still considered his well-loved AA group the higher power, would presently love God and call Him by name. And for me, when I actually think about calling God by name, it's not the God of another person's understanding which is important here. What's important is the God of your understanding, and something which is authentic and unique and understandable. And for me, it turned out to be God is truth, God is love, and God works through people. Now, that was a very hard thing for me to do, because everything in my upbringing was about agnostic or atheist. Don't believe in God, take care of yourself, step up the lip, brave face when needed, and ego running riot as much as anything. So when he talked of step 6, defects of character, my principal defects of character were fear, brave facing, and ego. And my principal shortcomings were not enough courage, faith, or confidence. So it swings and roundabouts, and sort of we can tip one day or the other, in one way or another, in any particular day. So what helps me to know everything about me are the 12 steps, the 12 pack of AA. When it comes to today, though, I always refer to Daily Reflections, this book, and it is one step a month. So, those 12 steps, the 12 pack. Step 4, the fearless moral inventory, the one which maybe a lot of people struggle with to start with, because we have to look at ourselves in some detail and understand where our anger, resentments come from and why we have them. And what we find is we've been angry at the world and not necessarily acknowledging our personal part in it. So when we actually get to understanding our personal part in our lives, that is, trying to run it our way all the time and then blaming the rest of the world for not falling in line, we find that we are not in charge to an extent. All we have is choices based on our life reality, what is real right now. So for April 13th, it says here, the false comfort of self-pity. And we all get this. So, we're not unique and authentic in this. We all have it in different degrees on different days. It says the false comfort of self-pity. Self-pity is one of the most unhappy and consuming defects that we know. It is a bar to all spiritual progress and can cut off all effective communication with our fellows because of its inordinate demands for attention and sympathy. It is a maudlin form of martyrdom which we can ill afford. And it goes on to say, the false comfort of self-pity screens me from reality only momentarily and then demands, like a drug, that I take an even bigger dose. In other words, our behaviour becomes addictive to self-pity. If I succumb to this, it could lead to a relapse into drinking. What can I do? One certain antidote is to turn my attention, however slightly at first, towards others who are genuinely less fortunate than I. Preferably other alcoholics. In the same degree that I actively demonstrate my empathy with them, I will lessen my own exaggerated suffering. And the most important part of that is to know it is empathy and not doing good to others. It's about empathy and understanding and not getting in their faces. Anyway, I share at the end of these videos the Serenity Prayer to God or good conscience, as you choose and understand as time goes by. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today.